Hey guys, it's Marl and welcome back to my channel. I usually do videos about babies and stuff like that, personal experiences, so I thought that I do have a pretty unique personal experience and I kind of wanted to do a series on my channel about my experience having weight loss surgery because I know there's a lot of people who are asking me to talk about weight loss surgery now that I've kind of told everybody that I've had it, and I hope I can help some people out because it's a little bit difficult to get a lot of education or a lot of support when thinking about weight loss surgery. So I thought I would shed a little bit of light on my experience and the topic itself and kind of create an atmosphere where it's not so faux pas to talk about it because it is kind of a subject that can cause a lot of debate and a lot of embarrassment, I guess, about needing or wanting weight loss surgery. So I thought I'd talk about it in a series so you guys can check out a playlist on my channel and kind of look at different videos that I'm going to be putting out randomly here and there about my experience. So don't mind me, baby's in bed and I'm ready for bed too, but I thought I would do this before and don't mind the look of the day. So let's get started. So first I want to talk about my experience with my surgery. So I started out in 2013. I had my surgery in October. So right before I had my surgery, I was 260 pounds. And that was the highest I've ever been in my life, and I reached that weight very quickly. And I was dealing with a lot of emotional issues at the time. Excuse me. I was dealing with a lot of emotional issues at the time, which I'll kind of get into the thought process of why I decided to have the surgery later, and the process of being accepted for it. But for now, I just want to talk about the experience itself. So I reached out to a bariatric center in Tijuana, Mexico. And I know that if you are looking at surgery options, that is going to be something that you come across very quickly, is options to have surgery in Mexico. So I had my surgery in Tijuana, Mexico because I do not qualify to have the surgery in Canada. And I had a lot of difficulty losing weight and I had a lot of issues with my health. So I decided to reach out to a bariatric center in Tijuana, Mexico. I did a lot of research on it and I knew exactly which doctor I wanted, so I would not settle for anybody other than this one specific doctor who was practicing bariatric surgery about full time. This one surgery that I had all day, every day. So this was solely her job. So I reached out and did a medical questionnaire, filled out a bunch of paperwork to see if I even qualify. I did qualify. I booked an appointment. Only my husband knew at the time. I booked an appointment and I pretty much started a dietary pre-op diet right before, about a week before I flew to Tijuana. So I did this pre-op diet. I lost about, I think I lost about 7 pounds doing this pre-op diet. Now you guys can research the pre-op diet, but in an upcoming video I'll talk about all the diets that go into bariatric surgery in the first pre-op and then the first portion of post-op right before you get into eating regular meals. But you guys can still research it online. And I did the pre-op diet. And then I decided to tell my mom that I was going to go to Tijuana, Mexico. My husband couldn't go with me, so I was going to go by myself. And my mom was not having that, and we got into a huge battle, and she, at the end, said, listen, if you're going to do what you're going to do anyway, then I'm going to be there to support you, and she booked a ticket on my plane, and she flew to San Diego, California with me. Once I got to San Diego, California, I was picked up by a driver, a very professional driver, who was very well spoken in English, and he worked for the bariatric center, and he had my cell phone number. He called me when he was there. He knew all about the surgery. He knew all about the experience itself. It wasn't like a taxi driver. It was someone who specifically worked for the company. And I actually went to, before I move on, I had my surgery at the bariatric center in Tijuana, Mexico. And so I highly recommend the bariatric center because I did run into a lot of people in the commute process that were very unhappy with the surgery they received. So there are a lot of places that are not places that I would advise you go to, but I did go to the bariatric center and I really, really enjoyed it, and I have met most of the doctors who work for the bariatric center. So anyways, he picked me up. We drove to Tijuana, Mexico, which if you guys are skeptical about going to Tijuana, Mexico, I'm just going to explain how common this surgery is in Tijuana, Mexico. There's a medical lane specifically for people getting bariatric surgery. So as you're driving across the border, you will drive in your own lane with your medical paperwork that says I'm having surgery. You do not have to wait. You go right through and you pretty much show your medical papers to the immigration officer and he lets you through. That is how common bariatric surgery is in Mexico. So you go there, you go straight to a Hilton. Tijuana, Mexico looks just like any other city in the United States, except some of their signs are in Spanish. So it is not like some sort of disgusting stereotype that people make about different countries because they've never been there. You have to be open-minded. I mean, just like for anything else, in my opinion, excuse me, in my opinion, you have to be very open-minded and you have to understand that you are going into a different country where people have different cultural traditions. And so things are going to be a little bit different. But let me tell you, it's absolutely beautiful. The people are gorgeous. The environment is stunning. Being there, coming from Canada in October, was a breath of fresh air and warm air, which was nice. So I really enjoyed it. And I get along with all different ethnicities, so it was great for me. I looked at it like a vacation until I had surgery. So the first day, they took me to the hospital. Once I got to the hospital, they took me to the hotel. Once I got to the hotel, a lady from the bariatric center works at the hotel because this hotel is directly affiliated with the bariatric center. She works at the hotel. She came in to my room and introduced herself, gave me all the information I need to know, told me exactly where to go for anything that I needed, gave me a direct phone number to herself and the hospital, told me I can call her whenever I wanted. If I was at all uncomfortable or any questions, I could call her. She told me about what the rest of the diet I needed to follow while I was there, which I already knew about. And she pretty much told me, okay, there's going to be a car for you downstairs at 10 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock or whatever. You need to be downstairs with the pre-op stuff that we discussed, and you're going to go to the hospital to start your blood work and all that stuff to get ready for surgery. So the next morning I took all my stuff, we took everything, we checked out of the hotel, and we went straight to the hospital. The hospital is gorgeous. It's not like any hospital I've ever been to. I've had a child. And let me tell you, it looked like a 5-star resort compared to where I had my child. And I had my child at a pretty nice hospital. And it had 2 full-size beds that were like hospital beds, but they were full-size. So like you could fit 2 people on them. They had 2 of those beds, a private bathroom, a private shower, private nurses, and there was about 4 people on every floor. So 4 patients and 4 support people. Like if you wanted to bring somebody, the second bed was not for another patient. The second bed was for whoever comes with you. So they could have a space to stay with you the whole time you're there. So I did my blood work. They brought me in. They hooked me up to my IVs, asked me if I had any questions, gave me the rundown, had me sign stuff, and then they took me in for my surgery. So the surgery, they put you down. The surgery lasts about 15 minutes. And then you pretty much have to spend the time getting out of anesthesia. So that takes a little bit, that takes obviously more like an hour or 2, depending on how your body recovers. Then once you come out of surgery, I woke up and the nurse checked on my vitals and everything, and then she took me into the room to see my mom. So my mom was waiting there, and she really only had to wait about an hour and a half most, I think. And she was in the room, and I was in a lot of pain right off the bat. I'm not good with medication, so I said no to morphine. And they still give you like a Tylenol 3, but that's about as strong as it gets in Mexico. Like, they are not for like heavy machinery over there. Like here they'll pump you with morphine, pump you with this and that, and numb you to hell. And here it's not like that. Like, no, you need to learn to deal with this pain, because it is a pain that's going to be with you for a while. It's not something, you have to learn to get through it. So literally by the time I woke up, they told me that as soon as I feel like my head is on straight and I don't feel the anesthesia anymore, it's time for me to get up and walk. And the reason for that is you have a lot of gas buildup. So you literally have your IV that's on wheels, and you start getting up and you walk. And you walk up and down the hall for hours for 2 days. You just keep walking up and down. And you gotta let go of any gas inside of you. And it is very painful because there is a leak tube inside of your stomach, which is about the length of a dining room table. I swear to God, it is like 5 feet long inside of you. No, it's like 3 feet long inside of you, realistically, with a bag hanging out of you. And you have to have that in you for 2 days, because they need to make sure that there's no blood going into your, like, leaking out of your stomach or anything like that. So like the liquids aren't leaking out. So the nurses checked on me every hour at least. Like, they were outside of the door. I met every surgeon that works at the hospital that was on call for those 2 days. I met every single one of them. They each introduced themselves to me. They talked to me. They asked me about my experience. They asked me about myself, my life, how I felt, what I should expect post-op. They really were so kind. Unlike any experience I've ever had in North America, where you're at all questioning what the hell is going on. And I'm not saying every doctor is like that or anything like that, but I just feel like here you interact so much more with nurses because doctors are so busy. But here, it's a very specific kind of place where they only do this type of surgery, so they do it throughout the day, and then in the afternoons, they have time to interact with each of their patients. So I noticed that the patients who followed the proper diet and the rules while they were there, no smoking, no drinking, no, nothing like that, gotta walk, gotta do your liquids, had to follow the pre-op diet, we're about ready to go by the end of the 2 days. Like we were ready. Like I was sore, I was uncomfortable, but I felt fine. Like I felt like I can honestly like go sit at a desk and work. I felt fine, but I saw people who I knew didn't follow the diet. I knew didn't follow the procedures. In the morning, they were in the lobby smoking cigarettes, and they had one hell of a time those 2 days. And I felt bad. I had a hard time looking at them because I felt like I could feel their pain. Like it was like, I felt like it was a labor version of what I was feeling. So then we actually came back a day early. So the doctor's like, you're recovering really well. You can go back home a day early. So I came back to Toronto from San Diego, and they dropped me off and they checked on me, and the person who scheduled my whole surgery gave me her number. I could call her whenever I wanted. I could talk to the doctors whenever I wanted. And they kept tabs on me for like 6 months. And so it was fantastic. And I had to go through pretty much that whole experience by myself, which was very difficult, me and my mom, which is the only downside to having surgery in Tijuana, but I'll talk about more if you guys want about having surgery abroad, if you guys want me to talk about it. And that was my experience. Most of the people I know in the VSG community, in support groups I'm in, and very close-knit friends that I have who have had this surgery, I know that my experience is very different than theirs. So in North America, the procedure is very different, very lengthy, lots of doctor's appointments, post-op visits, and stuff like that. And I think that that's great. But I didn't have that. So I pretty much can only talk about my own experience. So as we go along, I'm going to talk about more. But that was my story for what happened for me and what my surgery was like in Tijuana, Mexico. And if you have any more questions about VSG, having surgery in Tijuana, what it was like, you can leave a comment down below or message me on any of my social media links that are at the bottom. Oops, sorry. Any of my social media links that are at the bottom. And I'll be happy to answer anything you guys have. So give this video a thumbs up if you can relate, or I don't really know if you like this story, or you want to hear more about VSG, and you can subscribe even if you have kids and you have VSG, or you want to have VSG, double whammy, here I am. And that's it, guys. So I will talk to you all soon. Have a great night. Bye.